Well, the presidential campaign's heating up. I was watching the Olympics, and at least here in the Washington, Virginia area, it seemed in between every event there was a Romney ad or an Obama ad. And now we got the Republican convention coming up. It's only about a little more than 2 weeks away. Democrats is after that. So we'll have almost as much theater there as we have at the opening ceremonies. So who's going to be on the podium for this thing?
Well, we've been waiting to see who's in, who's out. And so some of the folks who are in are John McCain, we've got Jeb Bush, we've got Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, Rand Paul, some folks like that. Some people who aren't going to be there are George Bush. We've not heard anything about Sarah Palin yet. And so this is kind of an interesting question because these people become kind of the face of the party, the future of the party.
So what message is Romney trying to give us, do you think, Aaron, by who he puts on the podium?
It looks like he's trying to do two things. One is to show diversity. We have Susana Martinez, the Hispanic governor of New Mexico, new to the scene. Bobby Jindal, Nikki Haley from a Sikh background originally, and trying to show that the party has breadth. It has some rising stars. We now have two Cuban Americans coming to the podium, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. And also stability. There are no real none of the people like Newt Gingrich or Sarah Palin so far who have had the rhetorical fireworks.
Although Newt will have the Newt University set of speeches going on, so I think that's
outside the convention?
It'll be part of the convention, but it will not be, let's say, in prime time, so that might be a better format to make sure that Newt doesn't suck up all of your prime time coverage, but can still, host his own little conferences and give his own speeches.
I was hoping that Herman Cain would be asked to sing the national anthem. I mean, the guy's got a great voice. Is there any chance of that, do you think?
No Herman Cain so far, and no Donald Trump.
Oh,
so the reality TV fans will be disappointed.
I mean, I think if we've learned anything from Donald Trump, it's that he has a little problem staying on message. So I could see why they might not want to give him a headline role at the convention.
All right. So, of course, the convention is one thing, but the election is something else. And it seems like there's a real battle for women this year. What's that all about?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, and you don't really have to look any further than this Obama administration decision to say, you know what, hey, you employers have to provide some free contraceptive for women, but also, I mean, they're taking it to the airwaves. The ads that they're running, as you've mentioned in the Olympics, just Obama ads hammering
Mitt Romney.
Look at one of
those later, yeah.
Yeah, hammering Mitt Romney on Planned Parenthood, on his views on abortion and that kind of thing. I think that this is historically a really important voting bloc, and that's definitely true this time around also.
So are women more of a factor this time in the past, or what's the deal?
Well, yes, and partly because when we talk about women, we also have to talk about race. We thought race was the big issue in 2008. Really, 2012, it's big. Obama got as much of the white vote as the two Democrats before him, Gore and Kerry. This time, he's down. He's down to about 40% of the white vote. And the pollsters say you fall below that and you really have trouble.
But he's doing better among white women than white men.
Exactly. It's white women, college-educated white women, suburban white women are his purchase on the white vote, and that's why you're seeing.
Now, he was in Colorado this week pitching his case to women. You've been out there. What's going on?
Well, it's interesting. His pitch to women is focused more on social issues. He's counting on women voting on the health care law, on contraception, on abortion rights, that type of thing. Meanwhile, Romney is focusing his pitch to women on the economy and saying women have not fared well under Obama, and he's counting on women to vote with their pocketbooks, and Obama is hoping that women will vote on social issues. So it's an interesting difference in the pitches to women.
Go ahead.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, when you're on the road with Romney, he has a lot of these sort of events tailored to women. He likes to talk about how he has roundtables with women-owned businesses, that kind of thing. The other thing I think you have to watch is this sort of welfare argument they've made this week and how that plays with women. I mean, there is a certain sense they feel like, particularly among women, that
when you say the welfare argument, you mean Barack Obama's being attacked by Mitt Romney for weakening the welfare
right,
reform.
Absolutely. That Barack Obama's just giving people money for free and they don't have to do anything for it. That's the kind of thing that doesn't sit well with a lot of Americans, but I think they're also banking that it doesn't sit well with women who are working really hard and kind of trying to support their families.
Is there anything that the campaigns do to make the individual candidate more appealing to women? Does it have something to do with the way they dress? I'm real seriously. I mean, do they work on that stuff, do you think?
Well, Mitt Romney, we've talked about through the whole campaign how he can make himself more appealing to voters overall, and it seems like they've given up on that entirely.
I thought he's doing ads for blue jeans myself.
He does have some very nice blue jeans. I believe some of them are from the Gap.
Yes. The creases are precise. I think that's why you see a lot of Ann Romney, because she's hitting that note on his behalf. And this week we saw the advent of the, was it Women for Romney
Right.
coalition to show that.
Right. They did Moms for Mitt earlier this year.
And I
things
presume
like
that Michelle Obama is a pretty big draw for the president, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about the spouses, next to these two candidates, Mitt Romney has Ann Romney, but Barack Obama has Michelle Obama, and that's exactly what the two campaigns say. They say it's so important to have the wives out there because they're kind of these not-so-secret weapons on either side.
Maybe we should have a vote for First Lady. Okay, so we also elect a new Congress, an entirely new House, and a third of the Senate. And we've had some interesting developments this week on the Republican side particularly, right?
Well, that's right. There are elections other than the presidential, and the election for Senate is particularly important this year because you could have imagined, and you could still imagine, a case where Romney wins and the Senate changes hands so that you would have all Republican government. The House is already Republican, the Senate could flip.
So that would take, what, 3 or 4 seats in the Senate to make that happen?
It depends. If Romney wins, it takes 3 seats. If he doesn't, it takes 4 seats.
Right.
Starting the year, it looked like the Democrats had a very hard road for 2 reasons. One, they just have more seats to defend in sheer numbers. They have about twice as many seats that they now hold that are
Right.
up for election. And 2, because a lot of these seats are in difficult states, Montana, North Dakota, Virginia, Missouri, states that are leaning Republican, and the Democrats won them in kind of a big wave in 2006, but they're going to have a hard time this time. What we've learned so far is that we've had a series of Republican primaries, and we've seen that the Tea Party movement is still alive, and the roots of the party that want change, that don't want to pick candidates just because they were a lieutenant governor or just because they were the state treasurer, is still active, and you have a number of fairly newcomers to politics, challengers, winning. The Democrats think this strengthens their hand.
Right, I love the situation in Missouri where the Democrat incumbent who's behind, Senator Claire Caskill, was kind of rooting for the farthest right Republican, and she got her wish.
She got her wish. Aiken won, yes.
Yeah.
And so we were seeing this in Missouri and also in the Wisconsin Senate race where Democratic candidates and super PACs are coming in and running ads in the Republican primary, kind of trying to influence the outcome and kind of pick their opponent. And also,
So who do they want in Wisconsin? The candidates, Tommy Thompson is the more moderate Republican, and the Tea Party person is somebody else. I don't know his name.
Hoved. And so it's like if you can pick your opponent, they want the farthest right candidate, hoping that perhaps they could appeal to the middle, get swing voters in November. So it's interesting to see the influence of super PACs. You have more money to play with. They can get involved early, start to define the opponents and shape voters' opinions of them, and hopefully get the opponent they want for November.
So is what's going on here that the Republican primary voters are selecting people who are more renegades, more fans of the Tea Party, and the Democrats are hoping those people will be too extreme and they'll be able to hold on to the seat?
Yes,
basically
and we saw that in 2010 with a mixed record.
Right.
Rand Paul in Kentucky was more conservative than his
who will
challenger.
be speaking at the Republican convention.
He won, and the Paul legacy lives on. In Delaware, we had Christine O'Donnell, famous for I'm Not a Witch. In Nevada, we had Sharon Angle. They were Tea Party candidates, and they were too weak in the general election. And
Does this come up at all in the campaign trail, the Senate races? Or
Not so much in the sense that a lot of these people are surrogates, and so they show up on conference calls, they'll show up on the trail now and again, but it's not something you really hear the Romney campaign, for instance, talking about. I think one interesting thing, looking at the different makeups of what you could face with the Senate is if you have an all-Republican Congress, it's a lot easier for the Romney campaign. They don't have a lot of Washington experience. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to navigate a divided Congress as opposed to if they sail in and it's all Republicans.
But at the same time, there you have a number of Tea Party members of the Senate now. They're all acting like Republicans. They're unified because they're in the minority. If they take a majority, Mitch McConnell will have to deal with the fact that he's got, the majority leader, that he's got establishment Republicans and Tea Party types.
So I think this politics is a lot of fun, and what I noticed this week that really cracked me up was this wonderful revelation by Mitt Romney that his dad had a card that allowed him to get free milkshake, burger, and fries at McDonald's because of some favor he did from Ray Kroc. What did you see this week that was fun?
Well, this week was all VP speculation all the time, and so people started looking at the VP contenders' Wikipedia pages to see which pages were being changed the most, and perhaps that would indicate a choice. But then Stephen Colbert encouraged people to start editing the pages, so Wikipedia locked them all down, and so now you can't change any of the pages.
What did you see, Aaron?
Well, what I saw didn't humor me, it scared me. We've been counting down the campaign, 100 days now, we're less than 90 days away to the election. Looked more closely at the calendar. In some states, voting starts in September.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, it's what, 6 weeks away, and then a lot of states open voting in October. In fact, more than a third of the vote is expected to be already cast by Election Day due to this increasing trend in early voting laws.
Okay, we'll get to you next week, Sarah, but right now we're going to look at a couple of the campaign ads. It's been a heavy campaign season. Stay with us.
Remember anyone as extreme as Romney.
Cut off funding to Planned Parenthood.
He knows America holds a deep and cherished relationship with Israel.
We speak the same language of freedom and justice.